Hello, everyone. My name is Jeremy. Welcome to the first episode of my podcast called Soul Prophet. I'm so excited. This has been a long time coming. Talk about procrastination. I've been talking about this for a little over a year, and finally, I was like, a little bit of the perfectionism in me was kicking in, and I was like, you know what? I felt like God was telling me, don't worry about how you'll do it. Worry about that you do it, right? Don't worry about how you're doing the will of God, but that the fact that you're doing the will of God, that's all it is. That's the most important thing. And so that was in my heart, and it was just time to just pull the trigger, right? So today is more of an introduction. So a few things we'll be talking about today. Number one, what does the title Soul Prophet mean? Why did I come up with that title Soul Prophet? What does that mean, and where did I get that inspiration from? Number two, why should it be important to you, and why is it important at all, right? That's good to know. That way you can stay tuned in. And then number three, last, I'll finish up with what to expect in the upcoming episodes. So let's get into it. The inspiration of Soul Prophet comes from something that Jesus said. He says, he said this: "What does it profit a man to gain the whole world yet lose his soul? What does it profit a man to gain the whole world yet lose his soul?" And that is so profound because Jesus makes the distinction that the soul has so much value that everything that the world has to offer doesn't even compare to the value of the soul. And so, to Jesus, the soul, your inner man, the inner person, that part of you is more important than anything external that you can ever obtain in this world. What does it profit a man to gain the whole world yet lose his soul? You can gain everything in this world, but it still doesn't value up to or measure up to your soul, according to Jesus. So, what is soul profit? It's benefiting the soul, it's prioritizing the thing that you do not see over the things that you do see, right? And so, just the same way that we value tangible things, then the way you benefit the soul is by unseen values or the unseen valuables. Because when we think about profit, we think about a profitable business. Why? Because they're making money. We think about assets, we think about wealth, right? And so those are tangible things that you can actually measure physically, but you can't measure profiting the soul physically, right? So how do you measure this, right? How do you measure it? And so whatever benefits the soul are unseen values. So I'm going to share with you, and this is not in any chronological order or anything or order of importance. I'm just throwing out some examples so that you can get an idea of what are values that are unseen, right? And so one thing that we could talk about is wisdom. See, wisdom is something that you can't see, but it works in your everyday life. Without it, you can't even function. See, wisdom gives you the ability to choose wisely and see things in such a deeper way, right? And not just superficially. How better would our lives be if we just acted right or we chose wisely, right? We could have avoided so many headaches. So, this is something that's not seen yet is so valuable. The book of Proverbs talks about, get wisdom even if it costs you everything. And so that verse or that the book of Proverbs really talks about the value of something that's unseen. The value of something that's unseen, that it's worth giving up everything that you have to obtain it. And so that's something that just blows my mind, right? If wisdom is something intangible, something that you cannot see, but it's worth more than everything that you have physically, then it's worth prioritizing. It's worth prioritizing this. So guess what? If it costs you all you have, gain wisdom. How better would our lives be if we were? I could remember a few times where just not having wisdom, just not having wisdom in my decisions really gave me extra headaches, right? And so this is where wisdom comes into play. Something that you cannot see, but it is so valuable to have. So another thing that is not physical, right? Again, it's not something that you can see physically, but it is of utmost value, right? It's learning about your true self, the true essence of who you are. You see, when you are able to see or know the true essence of who you are, when you know the intrinsic value that you have as a human being, see, then you no longer rely on external factors for your confidence. You no longer rely on on external factors for your confidence. And we know people like this. We know that when you get a nice car, guess what? You start to when people get to get a nice car or a nice house or have a great job or a bunch of degrees or whatever the case may be, that comes from an external factor and it builds their confidence, which turns into arrogance or ego or whatever the case may be. So, but when you know who you are, you no longer rely on external things for your confidence, because our confidence comes from, we are confident in who we are as people. And you no longer have to put a front. You don't no longer have to hide behind your car or hide behind your job or your money. You can be yourself and know that you have intrinsic value. And you see that? You see how you don't have to, you don't need the car now. You don't need the house now. You don't need the job now. You know what your worth is without any of that. And once you learn about your true essence, it builds your confidence. It builds your confidence, no longer needing anything else. See, as you can see, that's not a physical thing, but it's something that is unseen within, that is of more value than anything that you can offer. What does it profit a man to gain the whole world yet lose his soul? What does it profit you to gain everything that the world has to offer but lose your soul? So to Jesus, there is this great difference, this distinction between the value of your soul and anything else that you can obtain in this world. And so another thing that is of that has like that's not physical but that has value is emotional intelligence. See, most great companies nowadays, they're not looking for people with high IQs. They're looking for people with high EQs, emotional intelligence, people who can manage their emotions. Manage their emotions. How important is it to be able to remain calm, even when there's disaster around. See, when you remain calm, you're able to make decisions better. That goes back to wisdom. You're able to manage your emotions, manage life better. You right? And so you could have the highest IQ ever, but if you have low EQ, man, that's going to be a lopsided life. What does it benefit you to be extremely smart, but have an emotional intelligence of a 5-year-old? I know a lot of people, and I know some of us do know people, and maybe we're one of them, right? Which I know I've had moments where, you could speak, you could sound so intelligent, but because of your lack of emotional intelligence, you lost respect from people, and now people don't even take you serious, right? Because the emotional intelligence isn't there. We you put chains on your IQ from shining when your emotional intelligence isn't up to par. See, we put chains on the opportunity for our intelligence to shine if we can't even get our emotions intact and we're too emotional and we react to certain things. So let's, if we prioritize the unseen, it benefits us in so many other ways. But because we keep our eyes on what we have accomplished and what we have in possession, Jesus says life does not consist on the abundance of things. So life has greater value focusing on deeper things, because it's going to affect everything else around you. Obtaining possessions is good for you, but what really benefits the whole world, right? We're here, but what mark are we leaving for the next generation, right? And so again, money just cannot solve it all. And why is this important? You know, there are countless examples of how we've seen everything going well outwardly, but inwardly, we're a mess. So instead of always focusing on financial gain and financial success, which we're very aware of all of the ads, all of the books, all of the self-help books, all of the self-proclaimed gurus out there that are just selling you ways on how to get rich. But this podcast is to create a, a space, right? It's to create a space where we can discuss and explore ways to benefit the soul over benefiting your pockets, right? And so it's the inner man profiting the soul. I want to explore ways where we can profit our soul or our inner man, whether it's mental, emotional, spiritual. All of these things are on the unseen side of ourselves, but I believe they hold the most importance and where I believe success should begin. You see, sometimes we want to start success on the outside when we don't know that's why they talk about, you know, people selling their souls, right? Because we don't know that obtaining that we're trying to obtain something that we're not even ready for. If we obtain it too early, it's going to destroy our character and who we are. And so to protect yourself, God wants us to build first a foundation of morality, a foundation of your soul, the foundation of your soul, so that when God begins to bless you, then you know how to manage those possessions because it's not all about you. What good is it to prioritize money if it doesn't fix character flaws or it doesn't improve the or it doesn't improve the quality of your relationships? Notice that I say quality of your relationships, not quantity, because, you know, guess what? When you have money, possessions, fame, guess what? You're going to have quantity of relationships, but you may not have quality relationships. People who want to see you grow, who are for you, who you can also help grow, right? That's quality relationships. And so let's prioritize the things that are unseen over the things that are seen, because the things that are seen are temporary. See, the more we continue to ignore the inner world, it will turn into chaos and actually start to spill out in our lives through our attitudes and our relationships. So many other ways. Think of it as tending a garden. Think of it as tending a garden, right? Tending a garden, your lawn, let's just say, right? You know, if you ignore it and you don't tend to it, you don't pay attention to it, it's gonna grow into a ugly old forest. You're gonna get weeds, you're gonna get thorns, you're gonna get poisonous plants, and eventually they're gonna start creeping right on your on your neighbor's side, to the point where now not only is it affecting you inwardly, it is not only affecting your house, but it is also affecting those around you. And so think about it this way, right? You know, when you have a really nice house on a block, that helps the other houses gain value. But when your house is unkept and it looks terrible, guess what? The other houses suffer too. So think about it that way. When you tend to that garden within, it becomes a place of peace. Now you can actually be by yourself. There's some people who can't even be by themselves because their thoughts make them go crazy. But now you can, if you tend to that garden, if you tend to that garden, if you prioritize your inner self, it could become a place of peace. It can become a beautiful garden, a place of beauty, a place of peace, a place that you actually want to hang out at. You know, a place that you can hang out with God at. Think about that one. So this podcast is not for any particular person, because if you have a mind, if you have a soul, this podcast is for you. Before we finish, I want to share with you just an idea of what you should be expecting in the upcoming episodes. And so normally I'm going to be bringing up topics like these where I'm just going to discuss a topic, give you some pointers on things that I think helped me in my spiritual walk and things like that. So I'm going to share with you that things, and I hope something that you can apply to your life. I'm going to share with you some stories about my personal life. I might get vulnerable, but let's see if I'm courageous enough for that. I'm also either going to have some guests where we're going to be talking about different topics and bounce off ideas off each other, because I really think that in conversation, you can really come up with some good insight. Okay, so that's all I have for you for today. My name is Jeremy. Thank you for tuning in. See you next time on Soul Prophet.